I wanted to know, show me in the Bible where they draw the line for marriage.
Very easy.
Okay.
Ezekiel 16, verses 6 to 8, and 1 Corinthians 7:36. So you should never challenge me. I've already done the homework. Ezekiel 16, verses 6 to 8, and 1 Corinthians 7:36 says that a woman is only marriageable when she's post-pubescent, when she's gone beyond puberty. So you didn't want to ask me that because you see, you embarrass yourself.
Okay,
See,
but what do you define as signs of puberty? Because some people could argue that at the age of 11 months, some babies, we see
Really?
them like signs of, like, it's
So here we go again. You just asked me, and I showed you that the Bible says that a woman has to be fully ripened, past puberty, post-pubescence, mature physically and aware. And not only that, we go to the early church, and they condemn having sexual intimacy with youth, with children. So I showed you. The Quran is supposed to be the perfect revelation and a message for all generations until the end. The very least, your Quran should protect young girls from having intercourse before the time because it does irreparable physiological and psychological damage. So even if the Bible didn't say it, forget about the Bible. You're telling me the Quran is a message for all mankind. Why doesn't your God have something superior?
Well, again, it's kind of a contradiction what you just said. I believe that it was corrupted, so I don't even think that this was God's words.
Yeah,
So
even though the Quran doesn't say it's corrupted, but I just granted that argument for you. Okay, the Bible's corrupt, put it aside. Why then the Quran doesn't come with something better? Why doesn't it protect children? Why does it legislate pedophilia?
Define pedophilia.
In a world where faith and reason collide, where arguments burn bright and ideas clash with unstoppable force. Welcome to the epicenter of intellectual warfare, where the truth is fought for, one debate at a time. On this channel, witness the unfiltered, unrelenting exchanges between some of the sharpest minds in the world of apologetic. Sam Shamoun, God Logic. The battleground? The very heart of philosophy, theology, and logic. Get ready to dive into the most intense discussions that challenge everything you thought you knew.
Pedophilia is when a grown man takes a pre-pubescent girl and then has sex with her, and then she can be divorced for other men to have sex with. And if you follow your Islamic rule, he can have up to 4 of them at one time and then divorce them, but then he can have as many of them if they are his right-hand possession.
Okay, well, I mean, so your question was, why didn't God reveal some...
Because he knows the body better than we do. Because modern science saying that a woman should only be considered marriageable or considered healthy enough to have sex when she reaches the menarche stage. Not even puberty, menarche, when her hips have fully formed and are calcified, because up until a certain age, her bones are still developing. If you have intercourse with her prior to that, you stunt her growth and you do damage to her physiologically. That's why they talk about the menarche stage. Now her bones fully developed, her hips are fully developed, and now she's able to handle it, let alone the psychological damage that it would do prior to that stage. But your God created the body and knows it better than modern science. And you keep telling me the Quran is scientifically...
No, I've never said that. Okay, I actually think that it should be separated from science, but whatever. Yeah.
My point is, God, you say he's the most merciful. He knows his creation better than we do. So if it is a legislation for all peoples till the end of the age, and he cares for children, then the first thing he should have done was legislate to protect children from bodily and psychological damage. But he didn't. He sanctioned pedophilia.
Well, you can't compare, like, at the time. You can't compare it to now.
What, you didn't even hear what I just said? This way.
No, I heard.
Okay. It was the Quran only for that time, or is it for all generations?
No, right. It's for, well, this is where I have to do some explaining. Age is something that is static, but the development of a person regarding his age, it changes over time.
There is no scientific studies to show that people in the 7th century matured faster than girls today. In fact, it should be the opposite, because today, living in Western cultures, because of the advancement in medicine and food, it's the opposite, right? We would have girls maturing faster now than back then because of the vitamins and all the food and nutrients that children today have that they didn't have back then. It's actually the opposite. They would mature faster now than then. That's not going to work, buddy.
Well, mentally they didn't. Well, I know you were talking
mentally
about...
Mentally they didn't back then?
No, mentally they were like more mature like back then.
Okay, so when your hadith say that Aisha was playing with dolls, How mature was she?
Yeah, but see, you're talking about dolls because of the American perspective of like little boys and
Islam forbids the images.
yeah, and there has been
When
a dispute over whether her dolls have a face or not. Ibn Hajar, he had the opinion that the dolls had a face. Other scholars,
Ibn Hajar, the same person you quoted, said Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says the reason why Aisha was allowed to play with dolls because she hadn't reached puberty. But when she reached puberty, she stopped. He's saying she was allowed to play with dolls because she hadn't reached puberty. When she reached puberty, she didn't play with dolls anymore. And then he assigns the time of her puberty where she stopped playing with dolls around the age of 14. So it backfired against you. He's admitting she wasn't pubescent from 9 to 14. But you see, you're actually trying to justify this when my point was, since this message is for all people to the end of the age, why does Allah then ignore the fact that, okay, maybe some people thought it was okay today, but it's still harmful and damaging. And I'm not just concerned for people today, I'm concerned for all people to the end of the age. So I want to protect girls from now till the Dajjal and Isa return. So why didn't he protect them? Why did he allow it to happen until now? In modern times, Muslims are embarrassed after this say, well, now times are different, so we shouldn't marry prepubescent girls. Well, okay, that's an illegal opinion, but that's not Quran or Sunnah. So you have to set aside the Quran and Sunnah because of embarrassment and pressure from these Western societies that are actually all kuffar. So you're kowtowing to the kuffar. Why? If you really believe in Allah, who cares what the kuffar say? Yeah, no, child brides. We're going to sleep with them, have sex with them. Damn you, whether you like it or not.
Okay, so if we look at outside of America, because this argument, actually, if you look back at it, back at the time of the Prophet, no one brought this argument towards him. No one brought it.
No, they did. Abu Bakr complained, and then they complained when Umar Abu Bakr asked for Fatima's hand in marriage. You know what your Prophet told him? I have the hadith.
Yeah, she's too young.
Say it again.
She's too young. She
How
was
old is
like 10 or something. I forgot.
Wow. I love you because you're honest. So Fatima was around 10, 11. Muhammad said she's too young for Abu Bakr and Umar, and they weren't even as old as Muhammad when he married Aisha. So what do you mean they didn't complain? Here your Prophet complained, no, she's too young for you. So why was Fatima too young for Abu Bakr and Fatima, but Aisha wasn't too young for Muhammad?
Well, maybe, I don't know, I might say something stupid. Maybe because like mental intelligence was
and Aisha was mentally mature playing with dolls and on swings. What about
but I wanted to know of the enemies of Islam until the last.
You know what I need the enemies of Islam when I have Muhammad's companions and Muhammad himself. You don't have anyone better than him telling you 10, 11 is too young. He said it. What about Ali and Kulthum and Omar when he wanted to marry Kulthum? What did Ali say to Omar?
I don't know.
She's too young for you. And he says, no, she's not. So I just gave you two examples where they're recognizing, oh, these girls are too young. But then at the same time, by saying that, they're going against the Quran because the Quran doesn't set an age limit. But beyond that, why did Abu Bakr say to Muhammad when he said, I want to marry Aisha, but we are brothers? What was his complaint? Where did Islam say that if you're spiritual brothers, you can't marry one another's daughters? That means Abu Bakr was troubled by that.
Can you? I've never heard about this.
Oh yeah, I'll show it to you. How you want to justify this, I don't know. Here, Sahih Bukhari, Volume 7, Book 62, Hadith 18. And I'll give you the link. Wedlock marriage, nikah. Narid Urwa, the Prophet asked Abu Bakr for Aisha's hand in marriage. Abu Bakr said, but I'm your brother. The Prophet said, yes. Said, you are my brother-in-law's origin in his book, but she is lawful for me to marry. Why was he upset and why did he react that way?
I don't know. It's my first time seeing that.
Yeah, they're not going to show you this. So that's not true that no one had a problem with it. Abu Bakr had a problem with it. And then Muhammad had a problem with Abu Bakr and Umar wanting to marry his daughter Fatima. And then Ali had a problem with Umar wanting to marry Kulthum. And yet Umar and Abu Bakr were younger than Muhammad when they wanted to marry Fatima, when Muhammad married Aisha. So it's okay for him to do it, but they couldn't do it for his daughter.
At the same time, well, I mean, you're not going to believe that, obviously, but the Prophet, he only married people because of he received revelations.
Come on, boy.
Okay, obviously,
God is the all-merciful God. He's not going to give a man a dream of a child to marry, because I know it says he had a dream where Gabriel showed him Aisha. That to us is not from God. We would say that's demonic or someone mentally ill.
Well, actually, and I might be saying something wrong, but in the Bible, like it seems like they don't care that much about disbeliever children's. Like in Matthew 18, he says.
Matthew 18, it's not done about Jewish children. He's talking about children in general.
Yeah,
It
but he
kingdom
says,
belongs to children.
whoever
Yes,
offends one of the little ones, which believe in me.
buddy.
Yeah.
He says the kingdom belongs to such as these, and you must enter it as a child. Can you specify where it says that it's only Jewish children or Christian children?
Well, here it says, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones who believe in me, is he?
Exactly, yes. And because you're confused, now he's talking about spiritual babes. He's using physical children to show how you need to be a spiritual babe, that you have to come to Christ as a babe. That's why the Bible talks about when we're born of spirit, we start as spiritual babes, and the more we drink the milk of the word, then we mature into spiritual adults. So you just took that verse out of context, but you didn't read Matthew 18, where he begins with, when they say, who will be the greatest? He brought a child. He goes, you see this child? You must convert and be like this child. So he's talking about spiritual babes. Those little ones, meaning those who have come to faith, who are babes in the faith, trusting in me. If you cause them to stumble, then this is what's going to happen to you. But why don't you read the verses before it? Because he just singled out a child. He's saying, see, you have to be like the child. Well, how am I going to be a child? He's talking about spiritual babes. That's why we talk about being born again. When I'm born again, I start as a spiritual baby. The more I drink the milk of the word, the more I mature until I become fully mature in Christ.
Okay,
But
so
you
if I
don't know this
become, if
until
I
my
become
baby.
Christian, like if I get baptized tomorrow, so I'm
You become a
considered a
spiritual
baby?
baby. Yeah, that's the teaching of the Bible. So you got to learn what we believe before assuming. But what in the world does that got to do with? You see how you went to Jesus saying only Christian children. What has that got to do with the Quran legislating marriage with minors? Did Jesus say, hey, only little children believe in me, don't have sex with them. The rest of the children, go have sex with them. What are you talking about, man? Where's the relevance? Here, 1 Peter 2, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, laying aside all malice and all deceit and hypocrisy and everything else under, like newborn babies, long for the pure milk of the word, so that by it you may grow in respect to salvation. So what do we become? Newborn babies. So you're trying hard to make my Bible sound like the Quran. But even if it says what it says, it's still corrupt, right? So how are you appealing to a corrupt book to justify the Quran? A corrupt book can never justify the Quran, right?
I'm not trying to justify. I'm just saying that coming from you, but I didn't mean it someone sent me this, so I was just curious. I also was curious about another.
They're trying hard to help you defend Islam or refute Christianity. It's not going to work, brother. I've been hearing these arguments since 1999. 1999, I went into full-time ministry. I've heard it all, brother. I've heard it all. My brother in humanity. That's why I call you brother. You're son of Adam. And you're created in the image of God, though tainted. May God restore you. I've heard it all, man. That's why I know your arguments. I've heard it all. I've heard the best that Muslims have to say. And that's why I'm telling you, the more attacks, the more I study, the more I'm convinced Islam cannot be true and Jesus is alive and he's Lord. I'm not just saying it to say it. I dealt with the best Islam has to offer. Jamal Badawi, I'm talking about debates. Ahmadiyya, Shabir Ali, Zakir Naik, you name it. This is as good as you get. You can't do any better. So, but really, how can you, in your own mind, do you understand? This is not just theory. Right now, if you go to Muslim countries, right now, if you go to Afghanistan and places, there are people's daughters who are young, who are being given away in marriage to grown men. In fact, there was one clip, I wish I can find it. It was on an Arabic television. It was, if you guys can find it, where a young girl who's around maybe 11, 12, was married to a man in his 20s, and you can see she's sad and depressed. She goes, my parents gave me to him, but if it was up to me, I want to stay with my parents and live with them. But
yeah, that's wrong. It has to be her consent.
Well, she wasn't consenting, man. She's like, I miss being home, and I was given to this man. And the man said, the interviewer was telling the man, how could you do it? Well, she's young, so I will teach her and she'll grow in my hands.
Yeah, I mean, if
she was heartbroken,
I'm against that. I'm against that.
But how can you be against it when it's the Quran and Sunnah, brother?
Yeah, well, in the Quran and Sunnah doesn't you can force your daughter, force marriage.
It's not force. It says her silences or consent.
Yeah, but why didn't she speak up?
She did. She was complaining,
well, therefore it's unlawful. It's not. This marriage is not accepted.
Really?
Yeah.
You positive?
Yeah.
So if I show you some of the statements of Imam Nawawi or Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, where it says parents can give away their daughters who are very young young, like even younger than 9, they can give them to someone in marriage.
Yeah, but after they pass a certain age, they have to be consenting to stay there.
Catch it?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
you
but,
see what you said?
yeah, but there's going to be no sexual things.
Oh,
between them.
you know what
Yeah.
they said? See, I'm glad you're honest, because I want everyone here. You said, yeah. If they're too young, then yeah, the parents can decide for the child. But if they're old enough, they have to decide for themselves. So I'm glad you admit that. But no, do you know what those sources say? If I show you, you're going to be really disgusted. It says a parent can give away a child as young as 6 or 7 or 8 to a man, and the man can try to consummate, but if it's painful, then he has to not consummate, but he can do everything else. But when she's 9, he can then penetrate her. That's your Islam.
Can you show me?
Oh yeah, I'm going to show it to you. Islam Q&A, brother. Because you're Salafi, right? Islam Q&A. So, brother, do you understand? We who are not Muslims, we're hearing this and we're like, I can't believe this religion exists and that this man doesn't see how sick it is. Here you go.
Well, obviously, some things, I'm going to be honest, some things, they kind of shock me. For example, like, but I have to accept them. It's my religion, you know?
No, you don't. You can leave your religion. Why do you have to accept it? Put a gun to your head to stay Muslim.
Well, yeah, because I believe that it's the only monotheistic religion on the face of the earth.
No, that's not true, man. You guys got so many paganism in your religion, like kissing the black stone and all that. We can
That's
talk
not paganism.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, we'll see. All right. Here you go. Islam Q&A. I want to send you into private. Here you go. So you don't think I'm lying. Because, you know, this is, by the way, even Sheikh Asim Al-Hakim, I just played the clips. He goes, the best website today on Authentic Islam, islamqa.info. And he says, from, I don't know how many months. Hey, praise I am waiting for you to go on with you to talk about that Trinity, brother. If you want to do it tonight, let me know, praise I am. And tell JP to come join me on my live stream, bring his friend to try to refute me instead of talking about me. But let me know when you want to go live, praise I am. Now, coming back to you. Okay. He said over 100 million views. And he goes, this is the one website that I trust. Sheikh Asim Al-Hakim.
Yeah, I have some problems with the person who's the supervisor of this website, but yeah, sure.
Okay, well, that's, and I don't know. Then we got to tell Asim he's got to retire. All right, here. So you see here, marrying a young girl before she reaches the age of adolescence. I gave you the link so you don't think I'm lying. It's permitted in Sharia. Marrying a young girl before she reaches the age of adolescence is permitted in...
Yeah, I know.
Indeed, it was narrated there was scholarly consensus, ijma, on this point. Now watch. What verse do they quote? Chapter 65, verse 4. So they're telling you this ayah of the Quran allows young girls who haven't reached puberty to be married, divorced, and married off again, but they have to wait 3 months. Now, in this verse, we see that Allah has made the iddah, in the case of divorce, of a girl who does not have periods because she's young and has not yet reached puberty. You guys hear that, right? The ayah says a girl who is too young and has not reached puberty, you can marry her and divorce her. But you know and I know, because of chapter 33, verse 49, you know and I know, there is no iddah, waiting period, if you haven't had sex with them, right? You know this, right?
Yeah.
So you admit here that if a young girl who hasn't had puberty has been divorced, that means the man had sex with her. Right?
Oh, actually, for Idda, no, I didn't know you had to have...
Do you want me to show it to you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. There is no iddah, waiting period, if you haven't had sex with the woman. Here it is, 33:49. O you who believe, 33:49, if ye wed believing woman and divorce them before you have touched them, then there is no period that you should reckon, but content them and release them handsomely. Now let's go to Hilali Khan because that's Salafi. O you who believe, when you marry believing women and then divorce them before you have sexual intercourse with them, no iddah, divorce prescribed period, and then mention 65 verse 4, have you to count in respect of them. So give them a present, set them free, i.e. divorce in a handsome manner. So if you haven't had sex, there is no waiting period. But wait, 65:4 talks about the young girl who's been divorced. Her iddah, waiting period is 3 months. That means she's had sex. So now do you see, according to your deen, you can take a young girl who hasn't had puberty, marry her and have sex with her and divorce her, and she waits 3 months for another guy to marry her?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you're not troubled by this, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, this clearly indicates that Allah has made this a valid marriage. Allah has made it a valid marriage. So you cannot undo what Allah has said. I don't care what modern scholars tell me who are ashamed of the Quran and they're liberal. It is narrated from Aisha. Now look at the example given. Who is the example of a young girl who hadn't reached puberty, who was married? Aisha. That's they're using it, not me. It was narrated from Aisha that the Prophet married her when she was 6 years old. He consummated the marriage with her when she was 9, and she stayed with him for 9 years. Narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet married Aisha when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage when she was 9. Narrated by Al-Bukhari, Muslim. Muslim says 7 years old. Now watch. What are the conditions? The fact that it is permissible to marry a young girl does not mean that it's permissible to have intercourse with her. Now watch. Rather, that should not be done until she's able for it. Now, look how gross it's going to get. Guys, if you have children listening, send them out of the room. For that reason, the Prophet delayed the consummation of his marriage to Aisha. So why did Muhammad have sex with Aisha at 6? She couldn't handle it. So he waited till she was 9. Al-Nawawi said, Al-Nawawi, who wrote a commentary on Sahih Muslim, with regard to the wedding party of a young married girl at the time of consummating the marriage, if the husband and the guardian of the girl agree upon something that will not cause harm to the young girl, then that may be done. If they disagree, then Ahmed and Abu Ubayd said that once a girl reaches the age of 9, then the marriage may be consummated even without her consent. You understand what this means, right?
Oh, yeah.
But that does not apply in the case of who's younger. Now, what it's saying is, because Aisha was 9 and Muhammad consummated marriage, if I marry a 6 and 7, 8-year-old, if she can't handle it, I don't consummate, but I can do anything else. But when she's 9, whether she can handle or not, consents not, I can penetrate her. Malik, Al-Shafi, Abu Hanifa. Now, if you guys don't know who these are, 3 of the Islamic schools, madhahib, are named after them. You have the Maliki school, the Shafi school, and the Hanafi school. So these are leading Muslim jurists that have Islamic schools of jurisprudence named to them. So Malik, Shafi, Abu Hanifa. The marriage may be consummated when the girl is able for intercourse, which varies from one girl to another. So no age limit can be set. Damn. So it doesn't matter the age. What matters is she can handle penetration. So if she can handle that 6, penetrate. If she can handle 7, penetrate. If she can handle that 8, penetrate. Now, I don't want to be gross and say...
How do you know if she can handle it?
Because you're going to have to try. See? So that means if I'm a Muslim, I take a 6-year-old. A 6-year-old girl is going to see a naked man with an erect penis. And then I'm going to try to put... Sorry, guys, for being bracket, because I want to show you how sick this is. Put it, and if she screams, I have to stop. But then I can play with it and rub it on her. That's how I'm going to know if she can handle it or not. I'm going to try to put it in. Sorry, ladies, I apologize, but this is what happens when you talk about Islam. This should trouble the hell out of you. This is the correct view. There's nothing in the hadith of Aisha to set an age limit or to forbid that in the case of a girl who's able for it before the age of 9. So if she can handle penetration before 9, plow away. Or to allow it in the case of a girl who's not able for it and has reached the age of 9. Al-Dawoodi said Aisha was reached physical maturity, meaning what means maturity? That she could handle penetration when she was 9. See, that's maturity for them. Can she handle penetration? Then you honestly... can't see how disgusting this is, and then you guys vilify us and demonize us. Here, look at you guys, you Islamophobe. No, dude, we're seeing this and wondering about the poor girls. What the hell you're doing to girls? My daughters, if these were my daughters, you'd have to kill me, because I would definitely kill you if you got near my daughters. Yet my heart breaks, God knows, my heart breaks for the Muslim women and Muslim girls, because this is their religion. Now, it is preferable for a guardian not to marry off his daughter when she is still young, unless there's a valid reason for it. So it's preferable, but it doesn't mean you can't. Now watch. Al-Nawawi said, it should be noted that Al-Shafi and his companion said, it is preferable for fathers and grandfathers not to marry off a virgin until she reaches the age of puberty. But understand what they mean by puberty. And they ask for permission, lest she end up in a marriage that she dislikes. What they said does not go against the hadith of Aisha, because what they meant is that they should not marry her off before she reaches puberty if there's no obvious interest to be served. So it doesn't mean you can't marry them before puberty, but if there's no benefit, wait, let them be pubescent and they can decide. But it's not a command that they should not marry her off before she reaches puberty if there's no obvious interest to be served that they fear will be missed out on it if they delay it, as in the hadith of Aisha. In that case, it is preferable to go ahead with the marriage because the father's enjoined to take care of his child's interest and not to let a good opportunity slip away. So let me explain this, what people are saying. It's preferable to wait for the girl to reach puberty because then she can decide. But that doesn't mean you cannot marry her before puberty. If there is no benefit in marrying her off before puberty, then wait. But if not, you can. That's why they said earlier, the Quran says you can marry off girls who haven't reached puberty. Okay? Marrying a young girl before it reaches the age of adult is permitted in Sharia. So, buddy, old pal, if you were a non-Muslim and you were looking at this, you have to be honest to God who sees your heart. Would you not feel the way we do, utterly disgusted and sick?
No, to be honest, I'm kind of disgusted. I can't like.
I'm proud of you because that means you have decency and integrity. Brother, Time for you to leave Islam, honestly. Even if you don't become Christian, I want you to be, because Jesus is real. You can't defend his religion, brother. It's not worth defending. You will not understand until you have a daughter. I have 2 daughters. I have 2 daughters. To say to me, if I was a Muslim living in a Muslim country, that my 6-year-old could be married off, and a grown man can take his erect penis and try to penetrate her, and if it hurts her, then rub her until he climaxes on my 6-year-old daughter, I would behead him, or he'd have to behead me. I would behead him, or he'd have to behead me to even think about doing that to my daughters. But I don't think you have children, so you don't understand how much this hurts. You don't until you have children. My advice to you, man, leave the religion, brother. Leave it. It's not worth it. You have the opportunity in Canada. They're not going to kill you. If you're living in a state, they give you 3 days and they kill you. Join all the Muslims who are leaving Islam. It's not worth defending, buddy, honestly. I want you to think, what if that was my 6-year-old daughter or my 6-year-old sister? You have some decency. Leave it, man. And you don't need to tell anybody. That's between you and God. And if you think God is real, say, God, please. I didn't have a choice. I was born Muslim. I don't want to just believe Islam because I'm Muslim. Please, if you're real, show me who you are.
I've done that before.
You are, right? You got to leave. It's not worth defending. It's not worth it, man. And then we talk about if you're in jihad, if you have a caliphate, Caliph, yeah, I'm trying to say it in English. Caliphate, Caliph, Khilafa, Khalif. My lisp. If you had a Khalif and he called to jihad, then that means if you're a non-Muslim, you're living in a land, the Muslims come. If you're Jew and Christian, you get 3 options. Hey, become Muslim, you're safe. Or pay jizya and you live under our rule and we give you the status of dhimma, or we fight. Now, if you don't want to pay jizya, if they come and attack, they can then enslave married women and have sex with them and sell them off. So if you're a non-Muslim, you're in Canada, I want you to be honest. This is in Surah An-Nisa, ayah 24, and it's in the Sahih narration. Sunan Abu Dawood, Sahih Muslim, all of them say this, and I'll show it to you. If you were a non-Muslim and the Muslims attacked, they could then take your mother, who's married to your father, take your sister, take your wife if you're married, have sex with them, even though their husbands are alive, and sell them. You're okay with this, that your prophet had his followers do this to married women? Because it's not a theory, brother, in humanity. They're doing it today, because that's not just for them. It's for all times, to the end of the age, whenever they're doing jihad.
Obviously, it's tough, but when I ask someone to explain this, most of the time they just tell me oh, you're in Canada, you've been brainwashed by this whole ideology.
Okay. Screw Canada. I'm asking you. Forget Canada, Canadian law. I'm not American Canadian. I'm pro-Jesus, the rule of God. I'm telling you, historically, Muhammad told his followers this is what they can do. And if they're jihad, they can do it to this day. Take your mother who's married, have sex with her and sell her. Are you okay with that?
No.
So no, are you a Muslim, dude?
I've already told. Yeah, well, honestly, it's because I believe in God, right?
Yes.
But by the way, I'm not even born Muslim. I believe in God, and
so then what happened to you? Why are you Muslim? You're not born Muslim.
I converted.
Oh, then why didn't you tell me that? So what were you?
I don't know how to say it in English, but someone who believes in one God, but doesn't believe in.
What were your parents if they're not Muslim?
My mom was same as me, and my father was an atheist.
Oh, so you were born in a family that were not really Muslim. They were.
Well, I mean, they still had some of the culture, they would say, during Ramadan, oh, don't eat, don't do this.
Okay, so you were born to a Muslim household, but they were not practicing.
Yeah.
Okay, so technically you were raised in a Muslim home, though you didn't practice. But so that's why you gravitated to Islam. But that's what I'm trying to say. Even though you may not have been a devout Muslim because your parents weren't, but you were culture Muslims. In other words, you were not born Christian, you were not born Jewish or Alawi, whatever. Okay, so friend, your parents are not practicing Muslim. They're just for culture Muslims. You wanted to find God and you thought, okay, let me try Islam. But it's not your only option. If there is a God, and there is, he knows what the truth is and he knows your heart. And we're told if we seek him in other words, you can't tell God, I'll only believe in you if you're like this. Then God says, okay, then you don't want the real God. You want a God after your liking. But if you say, God, whoever you are, I'll accept you as you are. I won't put limitations, but I need to hear from you because...
Yeah, I've done that.
Say it again?
Sorry to cut you out. I've done that.
Okay, that's why you're here. That's why you're being rocked. That's why your faith is being destroyed because Islam is not true. That's why you're here.
Well, to be honest, where I grew up, there's a lot of immigrants, and most of my friends are also Arabs, Moroccans or Algerians. But to be honest, I looked at all the religion. I said Judaism is a religion where the Jews, they believe that they're the chosen people and that they have an authority over everyone just because of how they were born. And I saw Christians as being polytheists because for me, like it didn't, like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense for me that a God who had to depend upon food and who had to
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can think what you want. That's why God won't reveal himself, because you put limitations. That's what I just said. When you tell God what he can and cannot be, then he hands you over to what you want. Okay, go ahead. See, this is the problem. You've already told God what he can and cannot be. I will not accept the God who becomes man and experiences human existence and is truly human and eats like a human, because if he's not eating, he's not truly human. That God I can accept. Okay, then here, I'll give you what you want. See, God doesn't force people to believe in him. God looks at a heart that's open. But when he sees you close your heart and say, God, you can't be this way. Oh, I can't? All right, then. Here, do what you want. He hands you over. So instead of telling God what he can and cannot be, you got to say, God, all right, if you are God Almighty and you can become man without ceasing to be God, and you became man to experience human life as a man, because if Jesus didn't eat, he's not human. If he didn't sleep, he's not human. But can he be God who becomes human and as God experience human existence? Well, if you say no, that's why you'll never find the truth. Because God is a respecter of persons in the sense that when I say respecter, meaning he will not violate your free will. He will not force you against your free will. He will give you all the proofs of who he is. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to accept him as he is. And if he says, you don't accept me as I am, go ahead. There are a lot of gods out there that will be to your liking, but none of them can save you. So it's up to you, man. God is not going to force you.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry to cut you. Didn't you say on record when talking about the Muslim metaphysician or whatever his name is, you said that, oh, it's true, the Trinity doesn't really make sense?
No, I didn't say it doesn't make sense. I said it's beyond comprehension. Because God, if he's an infinite mind, do you seriously think, if God is real and he's an infinite mind, that a 3-pound brain, finite creature, sinful creature, can ever fully comprehend God?
I mean, yeah, I can comprehend his existence in terms of like...
But can you comprehend the way it exists? Because you're...
No, you can't.
So, and if God is unlike anything in creation, isn't the Trinity unlike anything in creation?
Yeah, I guess so.
So you answered your question. But the God you believe in, he is a lot like his creation, meaning just like you're one being, one person, you can't be one being and more than one person. All of a sudden, your God is like you, one being, one person, even though not a person like you, flesh and blood, but meaning you're one person who's one being. So God is one person. That's sensible. But to tell me a God who is an infinite being and eternally exists 3 persons, there's nothing like that. And yet you're told in the Quran and the Bible to expect there's nothing like God. So when the Trinity is unlike anything in creation, you use that as an argument against it being true when it's actually an argument for it being true. Because it says there's nothing comparable to him. And for the life of me, I'm still waiting for Muslims to show me anything comparable to the Trinity. There's nothing. So that actually makes the Trinity more likely to be true than a concept that says, oh, one being, one person, because we see that all around creation. You're one being, one person. I'm one being, one person. But if God is unlike me, why should it be one being and one person?